So, one of the conversations that I've been having with a lot of women leaders is how everything can look perfect on the outside, but inside you are just really screaming, you are struggling. And a lot of people live that lifestyle where everything looks aligned on the outside, but not so much internally. Well, today I am sitting down with LaKisha Mosley, the Soft Simple CEO, and she is doing some powerful work in the mental wellness space, working with women leaders. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and welcome to the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. Look, I always love having a good kiki with you. Okay. So I'm excited to have this conversation. But for those who don't know me, my name is LaKisha Mosley. I'm a thought leader in redefining what business success through a mental wellness led strategy lens looks like. Because, again, as women leaders, we sometimes don't show up the way that we're supposed to show up, and I think it's just because of lack of knowledge. We don't know how to. So I speak to high achieving women leaders who are really done sacrificing their mental health for success, and they're ready to lead from a place of sustainability so that not only will their businesses last, but they live longer as well.
I love that. I love that. And so a lot of our work is aligned, and we'll get into that later. So I'm just so excited to have you sit down with me because this conversation is so important. And I know a lot of people who are in both of our audiences really deal with this, and it's something that it's just a really important conversation to have, and I don't think we talk about it enough. So let's just get right into some questions and learning some more about you and the work that you do and the people that you help. Um, so you mentioned that a lot of people, or like I said in the beginning, like how a lot of people are struggling internally while trying to keep it together on the outside. I mean, we're pretty much raised that way, right? Like this is why
Yeah.
we adopt that persona. It's why we put it on because you're kind of built that way.
Right.
So speak to a little bit about your personal experience as far as coming up in that ideology and how that has shaped how you move, not even just your career, but personally also.
Well, I was a preacher's kid. So, for
Mm,
one, you always had to show up to be a specific way. You
yeah,
almost, although I don't feel like my dad um, wanted me to be that way or pushed me to be that way, it was just, a whole stereotype. Now, he always wanted me to be myself, as well as my mom always pushed me to be myself. But even growing up as, a young Black girl, Baptist church, Baptist preacher
yeah,
father, you had to look and feel a certain way. The Bible was the basis of everything, and a lot of that what we were taught in the Bible was wrong anyway.
right.
When you grow up and you get the true meaning, a good understanding of stuff, you learn that a lot of this stuff that I did was just religious stuff. It was nothing
Right.
that was really biblically based when you go to understand it. And I noticed in my life growing up that I was more of a people pleaser, especially toward my mom for many, many years. Never wanted to disappoint her because that's what you don't want is
Right.
disappointment. So then it parlays over into, relationships, even business relationships where you're saying yes when you should be saying no, where you're doing things that are out of alignment with what your calling is. And then we wonder why we burnt out and why we stressed out. And so for me, it was many years of doing that. It was many years of operating in a place that I should not be in. It was many years of taxing my own mental health, my own physical wellness, so that I could say yes to something that wasn't even in alignment for me, that didn't benefit me in the end. And it really led to me having a breakdown that really kind of birthed all of this stuff that I'm doing now.
Wow. That is so powerful. And I identify with all of that because we know like church, religion, it's a culture. Just a it's not
Right.
just a way that you live, it's an entire culture. It's a way that a group of people live, and all your thoughts and beliefs and stuff mesh together. And
Right.
You talk about the judgment that comes with not being in alignment with what they said is right or what's correct for the culture and the implications that
Yes.
come from that. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you speaking to that because I grew up as a church girl as well. And I wasn't the preacher's kid, but I was like the chairman of the deacon board's granddaughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then all his sons are deacons for the most part, you know, so there's these expectations, and you
Right.
realize that you're living for everybody else's expectations instead of your own. So
Yeah.
I totally identify with that, and a lot of people in our audiences also. You talked about misalignment, and that's one of the things that I talk about a lot. I want you to talk about more of that because we talked about how it physically takes a toll. And I know people don't really connect that all the time. And we can come back to that as far as about how that stress shows up in your body and stuff like that. But
Right.
let's talk about from a leadership perspective and how it affects your business and decisions from that way. Like when you're not in alignment, when you're not feeling your best, how that
Mhm.
shows up as hesitation. Like, have you even experienced that in your on your own? Because I know you take on a lot of different projects, and you know things like that. Because I remember one year, you did like three different conferences that I
Mhm.
spoke at,
Mhm.
and I'm used to you doing one. I was like, one year you pushed out three, and I was like, lady,
Right.
no hesitation. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel
Right.
like you just did it. And so there had to be some sort of turning point. And I know when you're
Right.
talking about mental health and things like that, there is no, you know, it's fixed one day and it's done. It's an everyday thing. So can you talk a little bit about what that looks like as you're taking on these different projects? Because again, like you know, you got so much on your plate, and I think you work like a 9 to 5 also, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that adds a whole nother layer to like running a business and stuff
Right.
like that also, you know. So tell me a little bit about that as far as like just how those different things showed up and how you were able to like just really push through and make those decisions. And I don't want to say push through because I feel like that's giving the wrong like sending the wrong message because I
Yeah.
don't in just pushing through. Like if
Right.
you need to rest, rest. But what made you overcome and what made it to where you said, okay, this is sustainable. I can keep going. I'm taking care of myself. And you can even talk about those times where, you know, where you weren't doing such a good job of that. Because
Yeah.
I know we tend to do that as well. Like we know what to do, but we don't always do it, especially when we have a goal. You know what I mean? It's like this has got to get done. So I'm probably not gonna sleep for 3 days. You know what I mean? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So one of the five principles of the Soft Simple CEO framework is self-trust over self-betrayal. And we have to understand that leadership begins with listening to yourself.
Yes.
That principle challenges the habit that we have of overriding our intuition, ignoring our limits, and saying yes out of pressure or fear. Soft, simple CEOs choose alignment over approval. So I no longer care about whether you like it or not. I do it because it's in alignment with what I know I'm supposed to be doing. The push through concept is probably because you're out of alignment with something.
Right.
Something is in alignment with you. I'm not saying it's easy, but there's an ease and a peace to doing it. We have
Yeah.
to learn how to regulate before strategy. No plan works if your nervous system is dysregulated. We don't talk about these things.
Yeah.
Clarity does not come from pushing harder. It comes from safety, it comes from space, and it comes from grounding. And it took me having not one y'all, but two breakdowns to understand that is where I had to like lead from as a person who people look at. I was smiling and grinning for y'all and secretly
Yeah.
wishing something happened to me when I turned the camera off or when I wasn't in the
Mm.
public. Yes, there were years where I was pushing out, pumping out tons and tons of events. And that was because there was this push, like, hey girl, can you do an event on this? And hey girl, can you do an event on
Right.
that? Just because you have the skill set to do something does not mean that you are in alignment with what you should be doing. It's two different things. We don't have to
Yeah.
do something just because we know how to do something. It wasn't in
Please
alignment.
answer that.
It was
Please speak
not
to
a
that.
lot.
Because,
So that was hard for me. I initially saw that as a failure because my body could no longer do that. My mind did not have
mm,
the capacity. We look at we throw capacity around as a buzzword, but I really want us to
yeah,
stop doing that because capacity is so important as a leader. Capacity is what you can pick up and sustain without having to put it
right.
down. It is that is clearly what it is. It is not a buzzword for folks to be throwing around talking about, well, I don't have the capacity for this. Ma'am, sir, what is it as a leader that you need to pick up and hold sustainably so that number one, you can keep doing it, but number two, your team knows that there's some consistency
Right.
around. We don't talk about those things. So for me, it was hard for a team to even follow me because they didn't know what the hell I was doing from one day to the next day because there was no calm execution, which is another principle of the Soft Simple CEO. So it took for me, literally, y'all, November 2025 to sit in my bed and have a total breakdown where I was gone. Like I
Mm,
literally had to sit with here you are. You call yourself a mental health advocate. You
right.
call yourself someone who is woke and connected, got therapists, practitioners on
Right.
speed dial. My network is huge. I could call you, I could call my friends, I could call closest friends, psychotherapists, sex therapists, all of those things. I could call all of
Right.
these people, but was not using what I had in my hands because I felt like there was this whole persona of, well, you're the advocate, what
Right.
don't need help, but the helper needs help sometimes too. And we have to learn
Yeah.
how to tap into that. So it took me sitting in this bed and saying, you can't do this any longer. You can no longer do this because number one, girl, you pushing 50 next year, which is this
Yeah.
year. Number two, you got people who are following you that you are not being authentic with. You are pushing through when you should be laying your behind down.
Yeah.
You are doing work when you should be taking a doggone nap. You are not operating from a level of softness, which allows you to use your discernment to establish boundaries and use emotional intelligence so that you can make good decisions. So, what are you going to do? Because you cannot sustain this way. You cannot keep going this way. So, I took all of November, pretty much most of December. I was about to burn it down. Do you understand? I was about to pull Angela Bassett. I was done. I was to the max. Like, I was to the max. I was like, let's F all of this.
Yeah.
I'm shutting it down. It's done. I'm done.
I
But
think we've all been there at some point
yeah,
where it's like, you know what, I'm gonna turn this computer back on. No more this camera. Like
we get tired of performing, and that's what I got tired of. I
so
got
when
tired of
you
performing.
speak to that for me because I know that a lot of us get there. And for some people, the thought of that is scary because to be honest, some people do need to do that. Some
Yeah,
people probably really need to take like a 3 to 6 month sabbatical, cut off the camera and all the things, but it's scary to them. You know what I'm saying?
very.
Just the thought of that. But for those of us that was just kind of in a panic moment, it was just like, forget this. And then you wake up the next day and be like, okay, I didn't mean that. Like,
Yeah,
speak to
yeah,
that thought process of like just the tools in your tool bag of getting through that, of realizing, okay, that was just a bad day or a bad moment. That doesn't mean my life is bad. You know what I mean? Or that I can
right,
move forward. Like what kind of tools? And I know you talked about, having a community, and that's super important. Like having people around you that you can call on or who also
right,
have helpful tools to help you get through that kind of stuff. So can
right.
you speak to that a little bit as far as like what motivates you to not burn it all down when you feel like it, and knowing that, hey, that moment doesn't define your whole business or
Right.
your whole existence?
Right. Well, first, we have to get rid of the false narratives. Most high achieving women are taught that success requires sacrifice and that
Mhm.
exhaustion is normal, or that rest is something you earn after everything is done. And that is
Right.
not it. That is the whole reason why the Soft Simple CEO was created, because that model is breaking women. It's breaking women down.
Mhm.
So I knew I want to speak to community first because we all have this false narrative around community. Oh, if I have community, I'm okay. I have community,
Yeah.
a huge community, but I wasn't being honest with my community. So my community can't help me. There's nothing that my community can do, because guess what? In most instances, I am seen as the leader, so I'm expected to show up a certain way. But being a leader doesn't mean that you cannot ask for help. I am still capable. I can still be respected, and I can still be relied upon on the things that are in alignment with what I need to do. But I have to get tired of surviving my own success. And people say, "What do you mean when you say surviving?" You have when you build success upon false productivity and performing, like you're a show person or something, you are surviving your own success. You don't get to enjoy. It's not sustainable because you can no longer carry it on. That's why I was about ready to burn it all down, because I could no longer handle what I had picked up myself, instead of going to my community and saying, "Hey, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on with me." It wasn't until after I had kind of went through it, and I was still in the remnants of it, but I went to the closest women in my community and said, "Hey, this is what's going on with me." And for them, it was like, "We got you." But it also opened doors for them to say, "We haven't been well either. We've been showing up for each other because that's what we feel like we're supposed to do, but we weren't all being honest." So sometimes your fragility, which is not a weakness, it is actually a strength, opens doors for other people to say, "I'm not okay. I don't know why I'm not okay. And I don't even know what you can do for me at this moment. However, just you listening, just being here is good for me." And so I had to go back to the tools that I knew that worked, and that was journaling. I had stopped journaling, girl. Y'all know I journal like crazy. I got 17 notebooks, but I had stopped journaling. I had stopped meditating. I had stopped doing those things. Now, I was doing my devotion. That is what starts my day. But after that, how do you get all of this stuff from your brain to where it needs to be? And so I just had to say, "Lord, I got to stop pushing past this pain. And I have to learn how to regulate, my nervous system, but also to trust myself." We leaders for a reason. We have to trust that we make decisions.
You use trust quite a few times. And those are some things that I talk about as well, as far as how important trust is, not just self-trust, but like you said, your team has to be able to trust you and be able to follow you. You also mentioned something about not showing up authentically because you were in your stuff. Can you speak to just that whole thought process and getting through that? Because you mentioned that having that transparency with your team allowed them to kind of let their guard down as well. But talk about the pressures of trying to hold it all together, because I remember having a conversation last week and saying how we don't realize that people can tell we're being fake. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're trying to pass. And I know also, as, the self-love minister, you founded the self-love church. You almost embarrassed to say, "Okay, I'm struggling right now," because you know what I'm saying? It's like going outside and catching the pastor sipping the 40 because he's stressed out. You're like, "Wait a minute." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, can you talk about the pressures of, having to perform, or, because you mentioned sustainability also, and that's an important principle, because I talk to corporate leaders about that all the time, because you can get results, but if they're not sustainable, are they really results? Because if you can't keep them up, you can't keep that pattern, then you're pretty much digging a trench for yourself, something that you can't continue, and it's going to end up being, your detriment, So can you speak to that a little bit, as far as just how that shows up in your leadership? Because you did mention how important having community is, but just working through that, that feeling inauthentic, and being able to, like, what kind of things were you saying to yourself, or what sort of were you writing in your journal to remind yourself that it's okay to show up this way, and I'm not being fake, and I can fall too, even though I'm the mental health expert. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of it starts with awareness. When you don't have awareness of where you are, what you are doing, what it is that you want to do, then you can't even be honest with yourself, as well as you cannot be honest with a community that you have built or that you are a part of. Community is good, but healing sometimes comes in isolation.
Hmm.
Awareness comes in isolation. So people laugh at me when I say I like to be by myself. I am able to be introspective when I am by myself. So as a leader, we have to learn how to take time to be by ourselves. A lot of times, we can't lead from a place of always being on or in the light. People who are on our teams have to be able to trust us by executing calmly. If we're always in a hustle, which I really hate that word now. If we're
Yeah,
always in a hustle, if we're always pushing through, it teaches our team to be that way. Calm execution is a leadership
true.
skill, and it's really not about being unbothered. You're not unbothered. It's just that you're so grounded that the chaos around you does not become the chaos inside of you.
Right.
People laugh at that little meme about the little dog that's sitting at the table with his coffee cup and his fire around him. They laugh. They laugh at that. But that is how we as leaders need to do. We have to be able, we should have the ability to move forward with clarity and precision, even when things are uncertain, even when they're messy or when they're hard. Our teams can trust us as we begin to trust ourselves to say, this doesn't look like what it's supposed to look like, but what is it that I can do right now in this moment to make a difference? And you just move from there. You really get to this place of where you look at steadiness. And when you're steady, it gives your team permission to be steady too. It's really contagious when you think about calm execution and how I remember I used to be very reactive. Now I'm super proactive. Or when things happen and my team brings it to me, they used to brace themselves when they would bring stuff to me. And I feel bad now that is how they had to operate for so long. But now they bring things to me. And guess what? Most of the time when they bring it to me, they already have a solution. They bringing it to me for awareness. But I had to look at my own leadership style and say, girl, you around here wilding out. Girl, these folks don't know how to, move about with you. You want to give them more, you want to take more things off your plate, but you ain't letting it go. You still holding on to it. You have to let these things go and trust yourself to know that as a leader, I'm making the right decision. And even if it goes left, I'm going to use calm execution to bring it back full circle. Just that's just it.
Like I said, I love what you were talking about. Can you talk more about that aligned leadership? Because I talk with my audience a lot about how, when it comes to aligned leadership, self trust, and things of that nature, it's about being able to take responsibility when things go left, also. And I know sometimes we can move in hesitation, anticipating things going left. You know what I'm saying? So, speak to what kind of shift that a woman needs to make when it comes to that whole self trust and knowing that it's okay when things do go left. Talk about how you use those principles to remain calm and be a person that can take responsibility.
Right. So I absolutely love this question because I feel like we don't talk about alignment enough. For me, aligned leadership means that the way that I lead on the outside matches who I am on the inside. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't stray away from me. And when those two things are out of sync, everything in your business is going to feel harder than it should. That's where um, we lead with tension. Um, I will say a mic drop is you cannot sustain what you are not. We're around here trying to be something that we not and trying to
That
hold
part.
on to it. And then we build teams around that. You have to trust yourself. That's one of the key parts, that I mentioned is a part of the Soft Simple CEO framework. Self-trust means that I listen to myself as a leader. I lean into my intuition. Now, your intuition will play tricks on you if you ain't
Oh,
using it. It's just like
if
a
you're not
muscle.
using it correctly. Yeah.
It's just like a muscle. If you ain't using it, what is it gonna do? It can't trust you to do the right thing. Just like we talk about when we work out or when we eat things. If you eat breakfast every morning, your body gets used to you eating breakfast. Bam,
Right.
you're not gonna be hungry like that. You know what I'm saying? Your intuition is the same way. When you keep ignoring it, then it doesn't feel like it can trust you either. So you have to look at things that are in alignment. Does this make sense for my business? Does
Right.
this make sense for the people that I am serving? Is this something I'm doing from a regulated space? Am I checking my energy levels? Am I checking my capacity? Is this something I can pick up and sustain? Now, when we say sustainability, y'all, we're not saying lifetime, but we are saying for a lengthy period of time. We're not saying you do it today and then tomorrow you can't do it, or 2 weeks
Right.
later you can't do it. Like, things are seasonal. We do operate in seasons. But I think alignment is something that we really have to teach, like, really hard, because nothing else will line up if you are not in alignment with things. If you're doing things for approval, if you're doing things because somebody else
Right.
do. I was doing events, y'all, because other people was like, "Girl, you need to be doing this event," or I would see somebody doing this and was like, "Oh, I can do it better."
Yeah.
Better. I could do it better. But yeah, I may have could have done it better or did it better, but I was burnt out as hell after it was done. I
Yeah.
was wore out. And then I'm looking at it like, well, what am I doing with it now? That's why some things people don't see me even talk about anymore. It wasn't even something that was
Exactly.
available for me to be doing. So I picked it up and didn't even know what I was going to do with it afterwards. What was my end goal with
You
that?
have to
What is
know.
my end goal?
You have to know when to say no. And you mentioned that earlier. Like, the no is so important. Like, I was looking for something specifically, and I was having a conversation with somebody, and they was like, "Well, why don't you just do it? Do you know how much I have on my plate? I don't want to do it," which is why I asked you, where can I find such and such? Just
Right.
because I know how to do it on me. And I think that's another thing as women. We're used to being resourceful. We're used to just doing it ourselves. When we can't find something, we can't get somebody else to do it. And I think that has a lot to do with how our capacity is affected and how our
Yes.
team process as well. Because I know I can be like that also. It's like, instead of risking it getting done wrong, I'll just do it.
Mhm.
And then before you know it, you're doing everything. You're not
Right.
delegating anything. So, talk about what that looks like as far as trust. Like, let's get practical with it. What are you writing in your journal when you get to those moments?
So for me, when those moments come up, I'm journaling. What does my capacity look like in this very single moment? Like, what do you feel right now? And I need
Mhm.
you to release it and let it go. I need you to let it out, like let out what it is. Are you regulated? That means, are you in a state of calm? Can your mind, body, soul really sustain this? I look at, so what is my end goal? What do I want out of this? Is it to help people? Is it self-serving? Well, sometimes self-serving is not so bad. But in
Right.
the most times, as a service provider, you have to think about other people beyond yourself. I'm asking myself, okay, so can I pick this up and can I sustain this for at least 90 days? That's my benchmark. Can I
Okay.
sustain this for 90 days? If I can sustain this for 90 days, because that's at least a quarter. If I can
Yeah.
sustain this for 90 days, then what is the first step? And what makes me feel overwhelmed about this entire thing? We have to learn to listen to our bodies. We try to trick
Mhm.
our minds with doggone affirmations. You cannot trick your mind into something that it knows that is not in alignment. We got to
That's
stop playing
true.
games with ourselves.
That's
So
true.
I look at the overwhelmed pieces. I really dive deep. Some people may say, oh, that may be negative journaling. But no, it's really me getting to the core of, what is this? Why am I
Right.
doing it? And why do I feel any angst about it?
For
Why do I
sure.
feel angst about it? What is causing me things? feel things about it. So when I write out these things, okay, well, I feel like people won't buy it. I feel like people won't show up. Girl, I've been doing My Mind is My Business for 7 years. Every
Yeah.
year when it's time to plan, I have to do this journal exercise because I'll be ready to be like, nah, I ain't doing it this year.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody gonna come. People probably tired of hearing about it. Mental health is not this, it's not that. I have to look at those things and say, now what of this is true?
And how
What
do
of
you
this is
move from that?
true?
Because it could be, you know what I mean? Because we put all these negative scenarios, but they could actually come true. You know, we always talk about thinking the worst and it not happening. But
Right.
what if it does? Like, are you prepared for that? And do you know your capacity for that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
And what is your call for
important.
that? If no one
Right.
shows up at My Mind is My Business this year, I'm going to talk to myself. Or I'm going to talk to the speakers in the audience who come.
Right.
If no one shows up, will you still do the work?
Right. That's the most important because we can get so inspired and motivated by the energy of other people.
Right.
But when you don't know how to create that for yourself internally, like, and you know, that's a lot of what I do in the self-love church in that area is like creating your own hype and stuff like that. Like, you gotta have like your favorite necklace, your favorite earrings, your favorite phone, your favorite something, because when that's missing, I mean, that's why, you know, football teams go out there, they don't change their socks for the 2 months that they do in the playoffs. Or,
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying? So it's, we have to have those things in place as well. Because like you said, tricking your mind, you can't really trick your mind, but you can get things to align to where, you know, your belief, your actions, and those habits are all together so that you can have that success that you want. You know, that it's all, and you feel it in your body. You know, it's that ripple, because you know what it feels like when there's tension. You know what it feels like when you're sitting in a room and you're like, man, I should have got a haircut yesterday before the speaking engagement. Like, that's real. That's real. That kind of stuff shows, affects the way that you show up. You know what I'm saying? And so how do you plan for those moments? Like you said, if nobody comes, because there's been moments too where I've been on Zoom talking to myself, but somebody saw the replay though. You know what I'm saying? Like those kind of things. And I think that's what, for me, that's what I do. It's like, okay, well, somebody's going to see the replay, or I'm going to push out and market the replay and get sales that way. Or, you know, just different things like that to plan. Or like lunch doesn't go well. Like I had a particular instance where it's like, well, if nobody shows up or if it's not enough people on this day, I'm just going to run it again type thing. So what are some practical things that you have in place as those safeguards so that you won't hurt your own feelings, so to speak? Because I feel like that's, you know, like you said, sometimes we'll think the worst or think of these scenarios that can happen and hurt our own feelings before it even happens. And so we're already preparing for the worst. But how do you stay in that uplifting moment, especially if you do know it's a real possibility of those negative things happening? Because you do need that plan, but you need to also be able to still function and move. Like for some of us, it's hard to do that. Like I know for me, my husband tells me all the time, if something not going right, you can see it all on my face. So that was a habit I needed to work on. Is okay, when things are falling apart, I still need to keep my face together and keep it going because I cannot stop. You know, so what are some of those things for you that helps you keep going and still being true to yourself and still finding a joy in the moment, even though there's disappointment?
My aligned leadership comes from conviction, not pressure. So I'm not pressured to do anything that I don't feel like I'm in alignment. One of the clearest signs of misaligned leadership is decision fatigue. So if I make a decision, doggone it, I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to produce this event, whether anyone shows up or not. I feel like we have to learn the difference between a plan B and a pivot. They're two different things. I don't have a plan B. I'll pivot, because pivoting is you still having some semblance of the same idea. You're just tweaking some aspects of it. A plan B is a whole different plan. I don't have a plan B. My Mind is My Business happens. The Soft Simple CEO happens, regardless of who shows up or not. However, how do I protect myself when things go left? I go into them with an anticipation of it's going to be this. However, when I look at the reality of what it actually turns out to be, then there are some self-care things that go into place for me. That may be a massage. That could be, I'm just gonna chill out in the bed and I'm gonna watch all the Ratchet Housewives stuff. I'm gonna get a
Yes.
good key out of that. Or it may be a Netflix and chill day because I value my alone time. And so
Mhm.
sometimes I just figure I'm gonna do this in isolation. I'm gonna pick through this and then I'm gonna go on about my way. I'm gonna look at what are some things that maybe I could have done differently. But the decision is the decision. I'm just gonna
Right.
keep it moving and I'm gonna come back next year and I'm gonna do it again. And if
Yes.
it happens again, I'm gonna just pivot and do something else. We have to learn how to look at our decisions and value what we decided, regardless of
Mhm.
the pressure. We have to come from a place of conviction, not, oh, because so and so said this, I can't do it. We have to understand that our values, our visions are
Yeah,
non-negotiable.
that's
They
true.
don't rock regardless of what happens. They don't rock. They stay steady. I don't teeter totter because I only sold 4 tickets. Hey, I'm gonna let
Yeah.
my friends know. Look, y'all, I only got 4 tickets. Either you down or you not down. Otherwise, I'm gonna
Right.
be talking to myself. It's just gonna happen the way it's gonna happen. And some people may say, well, I think that's selfish. I think that's whatever. God told me if I speak to a few, he will give me many. So I'm going to lean on and hold on to what I feel like he told me to do. And he didn't tell me that I was always going to have a big crowd to do it in front of. And he didn't also tell me I was going to have a bunch of supporters and a bunch of yes people alongside of me too. That makes
Right.
me an even powerful leader.
Right. Right.
Adversity really is your friend. We don't see it that way, but adversity really is your friend. It can really help you see gaps in between where you are and where you say you want to be, what you say you value, and how you actually operate.
For sure. For sure. I mean, it's all like they say. The proof is in the pudding.
Yep.
It's you don't really know what you can stand on until you have to go through it. You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to working out, like I told you before we started this, I was at the gym till like 2 in the morning. And if you don't put no weights on that thing, what kind of results are you thinking you're gonna get?
Right,
Like it's the
right,
resistance, it's the weight, that's what builds the muscle. That's what
right.
makes it, you know what I mean? That's what helps you bulk
Yeah,
up. Let me get my
yeah,
words
it's
together.
true.
You know what I'm saying? So I get that, that phrase that adversity is your friend and things like that. So you've been talking about my mind is my business. I'd love to get into that. This is an amazing event that you've been doing for what you said the last 9 years.
This will be year 7.
7. I knew it
Yeah,
was, I couldn't remember if it was 7 or 9 years.
yeah.
And I'm really excited about that. I'm grateful to have been a part of that for the last 5, I think.
Yes, yes.
So tell
Wow.
us a little bit like what people can expect because I know being there all those years and just watching it grow powerfully from year to year. Like it started virtually and then you bring in this powerful energy into a physical room and bringing these people from all over the nation together. Like tell us what people can expect.
Yes. So I'm excited that you'll be a part. I mean, honestly, anytime it's gonna be it, you're gonna be there. Long as you are available, you will definitely be there.
And I would say yes.
And this year's theme is called the soft reset. And I felt like it was important to do that this year because I had a soft reset. I want to teach other people. I want to give us an invitation to pause and realign and reimagine how we lead, how we work, and how we care for ourselves. And so we actually have really honest conversations. This is not, oh, we get up there and present. Like we have conversations around mental health and wellness. This year, we're actually putting in more business strategies. A lot of the feedback I got last year was, okay, this is good. You gave us a lot, but you gave us too much. We need less sessions and we want you to help us with our business as well. And so I was like, you're right. I say this is an event that talks about the intersection between mental health
Yeah.
and business. I got to bring some business stuff in there. So we're going to talk about how to scale. We're bringing in leadership. You're on this panel with Corey, You two are two amazing leadership experts who are going to talk about what does that look like? Where does faith come into that? But what does clarity come in? And I'm
Yeah.
also implementing for the first time, and I've been wanting to do this since I went in person, an awards bunch where I'm going to honor 4 people who I feel like have been doing the work in mental health and business, where they have really shown like this is how you should show up. It's not perfect, it could be messy, but people gravitate to them. People lean into them. And so I'm excited to just that God even gave me this. Kick off with a
Yes.
PIP night, y'all. This year we're doing roses and rosé.
I
We are
love
going to be doing some flower making, something that the VIPs can take home. But we're also going to do some activities in that. And how you make this flower, you start from nothing and it blooms into something else. How do we do that as leaders? How do we show up as leaders? How do we make our life, architect our lives in a way that's sustainable in how we live? Saturday is all day sessions. We have about 6 speaker sessions. Girl, we going from 10 to 6.
Okay. A full day of all
Yeah.
the work.
Yes, we have 6 sessions, and in between, we have some really, really cool activations and soft reset breaks. So we're going to be doing business card swaps. We're going to be doing some journaling moments. We're going to do some moments where we're really looking at how do we show up as leaders and how can we change that. We're going to be doing some in person, in time, like activations that's going to help you. Not when you get home. We
Right.
will start while you're in the room doing the work
That's
of
so important.
transforming your leadership skills. And then on Sunday, we want to host a brunch where we're going to have like just a one fireside chat where we're going to talk about certain things. And then we're going to honor these 4 women who I feel like, and I haven't announced them yet. They're going to be very surprised. Who I feel like I've admired for, years, watched their work, watched what they've done, also seen how they've impacted others with the work that they've done, because that is what influence is. Influence
Right.
is who do you impact and what is the transformation that happens after it. It ain't likes, it ain't follow accounts.
Right.
It is the transformation that someone experiences when they're in your presence and when they leave. And so I'm excited about this year. I cannot wait till May 22nd through the 24th for us to just have fun, because we have fun when we
I'm
do this.
looking forward to it. I'm so looking forward to it. Like it's in the calendar. Everybody know.
Right.
Like, don't look for me that weekend. Because I need my reset too. I'm gonna be there working, but I'm also gonna be resetting as well. Like, because I think that's one of the things that I love about the environment that you created is that the speakers are not just coming to pour into people, but they are coming to be poured into as well. And that's one of the things that I can say that showing up every year, I always leave with something. Like, you think that you're going to just impart things into people, but you always end up leaving with something yourself. So I love that.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yes, me too.
So tell the people what else you have coming up. Let them know where they can find you, how they can work with you, and some of the other amazing things that you have going on in addition to the conference.
So I just relaunched the podcast called Chaos and Convos, and it's really mental health. Well, we talk about business, but we really talk about leadership in a different way. So it used to just be tons of interviews with other people. Now it is really more so me talking, but me also bringing on guests. And we're talking about how do we lead? How do we do these things very soft and sustainable where they can maintain? So I just relaunched that. I'm excited. The Soft Simple CEO framework launches in June. So I'm excited about that. And it's really going to be a 6 to 8 weeks kind of coaching program. And I always said, oh, I'm not a coach. I'm not a coach. Well, I'm going to teach women entrepreneurs how to lead from a place of softness, how to use it as a strategy, implementing wellness, mental well foundations. Because if your mental health out of whack, ain't nothing you do gonna work, honey. So we have to start from there. And really, honestly, just being in alignment with other things. I'm not probably doing any other things this year because I'm not piling my plate on, and I'm gonna go take a good nap whenever I need to take a nap. So yeah, they can definitely connect with me on Instagram. That's where I play on Instagram as LaKisha M. Mosley. I'm DM friendly. You can DM me. I will respond. A bot won't respond unless you comment a keyword. But
because we know how that go. Girl, I got some friends. Every time I send them a message, I get that bot. I'm like, yes. Girl, it's me.
Like, turn it off with some stuff. Like, please.
But hey, we love the automations. That's what keep it going, right?
Yes, we do love the automation. It is, they help us out. They do.
Oh my goodness. I love this. I love this. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, LaKisha. Like, this has been such an eye-opening conversation, and you brought so many key moments. I feel like we could talk like for another 30, 45 minutes, because not only is the conversation so important, but it's just so many helpful nuggets that you can bring out. Like, I'm just sitting here, I'm like, I could ask her so many more questions, but we already been talking almost an hour. I love it because it never gets old, and I just appreciate the practicality of all of it. You know what I'm saying? You know, we got some clip-worthy moments, so we're going to be sharing those also.
Yes, definitely.
But thank you again, LaKisha, for sitting down with us and really talking about like those principles and how important it is to really be on top of your mental health, especially if you want any kind of stability as a leader, if you want any kind of clarity, any kind of just sustainable success, any sort of true trust, not just trusting yourself, but your team being able to trust you also, because you're showing up with that clarity, with that confidence, with those tools, you know, with your system regulated. So if this conversation resonated with you, that's why I created this space, to have these conversations with women leaders about self-love and leadership. So make sure you show up next time and engage with us in the comments and let us know some of the other things that you want to talk about. So again, I am Nishama Alheem, leadership alignment strategist, founder of the Self-Love Church. Make sure y'all check us out in Houston, May 22nd to 24th at the My Mind is My Business conference. Give them the website. LaKisha, tell them where to go to get their tickets.
It's www.mymindismybusiness.com.
Awesome. But thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time. Peace and blessings.